Welcome to the second lesson in the server-side tutorial series. In this video, I'm going to walk you through configuring clients and tags in your server-side container, and how to adjust your client-side setup so everything works together. Before we dive in, I want to give a shout out to Stape for sponsoring this series. Stape makes it easy to get started with server-side tracking. I've included a link to Stape in the description below this video. I also want to mention that if you haven't watched the first video in this series, I recommend checking it out. I've included a link in the description below. In that video, we covered setting up a server-side container and connecting it to Stape. Now it's time to configure our tags so data flows through our server to Google Analytics and Google Ads. Let's get started. Let's head to Google Tag Manager. In the previous video in this series, we created this server-side container, we set up Stape as our tagging server, and connected Stape to this container. Now we need to configure our web container so it sends data to the server-side container. And so the server sends the data to Google Analytics, Google Ads, and the other platforms we're using. Okay, let's make sure we're looking at our server-side container. An easy way to check this is to look for clients and transformations in the menu on the left. You will see these two options when you've opened a server-side container. Now we need to get the URL for our tagging server. This is the custom subdomain we configured in the previous video. To find this again, let's navigate to Admin. And let's select Container Settings. We can see our URL listed under Server Container URLs. Let's copy this. Now we need to open our Google Tag Manager web container. So let's close the container settings. And let's navigate to Workspace. Now let's switch to our web container. As we covered in the first video in this series, we need the web container installed on our website. We can then use the web container to pass data to our server-side container, which then allows us to send data to the different analytics and marketing platforms we're using. So you need to ensure your web container is actually installed on your website. Let's quickly check this by clicking Preview. Then we enter the URL of our website. And we click Connect. Our website loads. And Tag Assistant loads. Now let's open the Tag Assistant tab. At the top, we can see it says Google Tags Found. And to the right of this, we can see the container ID for our Google Tag Manager web container. So we know this is installed on our website. If you don't find your web container installed on your website, you'll need to add it. I've included links in the description below this video to my Google Tag Manager series if you need to set this up. Since it is installed on my website, let's close the Tag Assistant tab. And let's close my website. The next step is to configure our web container to send data to our server-side container. To do this, we're going to adjust the Google tag that's sending data to Google Analytics. So let's navigate to Tags. And let's open the Google tag for Google Analytics. Now let's select Tag Configuration. Let's select Configuration Settings. And under Configuration Settings Variable, let's select None and choose New Variable. Creating a Google Tag Configuration Settings variable means you can ensure all of your Google tags use the same configuration options. So it's worth taking the time to do this. Let's name our variable Google Tag Configuration Settings GA4. And let's click Add Parameter. Under config parameter, let's enter server underscore container underscore URL. And under value, let's paste the server URL we copied from our server-side container. Now let's save our variable. Adding the server URL to the tag redirects all events to the server-side container instead of sending them directly to Google Analytics. This lets us use those events with multiple tags. And let's save our tag. Now we need to configure our server-side container to process the data it receives. To do this, we'll set up a client that listens for incoming events. Before we do this, let's find our Google Analytics measurement ID. We will need this to configure our Google Analytics tag in our server-side container. To find the ID for our existing tags, let's navigate to Variables. Let's open the GA4 measurement ID variable. And let's copy the ID under Value. Now let's close this. Apart from Google Analytics, we're also going to configure a Google Ads conversion tag in our server-side container. So let's open the Google Ads tag ID variable. And let's copy the ID under Value. Let's close the variable. And we also need to copy the Google Ads conversion label for leads. So let's open this variable. And let's copy the label under Value. Let's close the variable. Okay, now let's head to our server-side container in Google Tag Manager. And let's navigate to Clients. We can see there's already a client named GA4. This client is automatically created for us when we create a server-side container. So you should see this in your container too. Okay, now let's navigate to Tags. And let's click New to create a new tag. Let's name the tag Google Analytics GA4 All Events. And let's select Tag Configuration. Select Google Analytics and choose Google Analytics GA4 as the tag type. Under Measurement ID, let's enter 2 opening curly braces. And let's select New Variable. Let's name the variable GA4 Measurement ID. And let's select Variable Configuration. Let's choose Constant as the type. And let's paste the measurement ID we copied from our web container as the value. Now let's click Save. Next, we need to add a trigger to our tag, so let's select Triggering. And let's click the plus sign on the top right corner to create a new trigger. Let's name the trigger GA4 All Events. And now let's select Trigger Configuration. We need to choose Custom as the type. We only want our tag to fire for Google Analytics events that are passed to our server-side container, so we need to add a condition to our trigger. To do this, let's select Some Events. Now let's click the Select Variable Input. And let's select Choose Built-in Variable. Now let's select the client name variable. We're going to configure this trigger so that it only fires tags when data is received by the Google Analytics client. So let's change contains to equals. And for the value, let's enter a capital G, a capital A, and the number 4. That's it. Now we can save our trigger. And let's save our tag. This tag will now fire every time the GA4 client receives an event and send the event to your Google Analytics property. This will include automatic events like page views, enhanced measurement events, and any other event that's triggered by our web container. This will also include any recommended and custom events, including e-commerce events you've implemented. Now that we've configured our tag for Google Analytics, let's configure our Google Ads conversion tag in our server-side container. To do this, let's create another tag. Let's name the tag Google Ads Conversion Thank You Page. And let's select Tag Configuration. Now let's choose Google Ads and select Google Ads Conversion Tracking as the tag type. Under Conversion ID, let's enter 2 opening curly braces. And let's select New Variable. Let's name the variable Google Ads Conversion ID. And let's select Variable Configuration. Now let's select Constant as the type. And we need to paste the conversion ID we copied from our web container. Now let's click Save. Under Conversion Label, let's enter 2 opening curly braces. And let's select New Variable. Let's name this variable Google Ads Conversion Label. Select Variable Configuration. Choose Constant. And paste the conversion label we copied from the web container. And click Save. Now we need to add a trigger to our tag, so let's select Triggering. And let's click the plus sign on the top right corner to create a new trigger. Let's name the trigger GA4 Page View Thank You Page. And let's select Trigger Configuration. Now we need to choose Custom Event as the type. And for the event name, let's enter page_view, all one word. This will mean our trigger only fires when a page view event is sent to our server-side container. We also need to apply a couple of conditions to our trigger so that our tag only fires for Google Analytics page views and for our dedicated thank you page. To do this, let's select Some Custom Events. And let's click Select Variable. And choose Client Name. Now let's change Contains to Equals and enter GA4 as the value. Again, this ensures the trigger only fires for events received by the GA4 client. Now let's click the plus sign on the right to add one more condition. Let's click Select Variable. And let's choose New Variable. We need to create a variable so we can make use of the page location that's contained in the page view event. We will use this in our trigger so our tag only fires for the thank you page on our website. Let's name our variable GA4 Page Location. Now let's select Variable Configuration. And let's choose Event Data as the type. Now we just need to enter page_location, all lowercase, as the key path. This will capture the value of the page location included in the page view events. Now let's save our variable. Let's leave Contains selected for the matching. And for the value, let's enter thank-u. This will mean our trigger will fire our tag whenever people view a page on our website where the URL contains thank-u. You should adjust the trigger to match the page people see after they convert on your website. Your URL might be slightly different to this one. Okay, now we can save our trigger. And we can save our tag. We've now created two tags in our server-side container, one that sends all of our GA4 events to Google Analytics, and the other that sends conversion events to Google Ads. In the next video, we'll cover testing our server-side container, adjusting tags in the web container, and publishing our changes. We'll also explore additional Stape features to further improve data accuracy. To get started with Stape, I've included a link in the description below. You'll also find a promo code that's available for a limited time. When you use the code to start a new paid plan, you'll get a special discount. And if you have any questions about setting up server-side tracking, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.